Back at on Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Go in the browser and search for that. Give us a review and tell us what you think about the show. Also, follow me on my Twitter page at JMCH316. We continue with my one and only mock draft for the Atlanta Falcons. It is draft day here in Atlanta and across the NFL landscape. So we left off with Jamaree Salyer, offensive lineman, University of Georgia, round 3, pick number 82. We move on to round number 4, pick number 114, and I take with that pick Jalen Amore Davis, cornerback out of the University of Alabama. Now, he's got good speed, and he's got the size, 6'1", almost 200 pounds, okay? He can be a press man guy, who, by the way, that's what Dean Pease specifically talked about in his post-conference of the season about, hey, find me a guy who can be a press corner and things like that. The problem is that he is a one-year starter at Alabama and at times hasn't played all of his best football. And he's not been consistent enough to show that he's a top-tier defensive back. Now, I like him, and I think that he's got a lot of upside to him, and he's got all the physical tools, but he's got to put it all together on a consistent basis. That's really the only thing that holds him back. And again, when you start to get to this point of the draft, you have to live with the warts that some of these guys have and look at what the ceiling is going to be for those guys. So Davis is a guy who started at Alabama. He's got all the tools. Let's see if the Falcons could draft him and put it all together. All right, round number 5, pick number 151. I go with Neil Farrell, defensive tackle out of LSU. Now, talk about a mountain of a man. 6'4", 330 pounds is Farrell. He is an unpolished product for sure, but what he is a big-time space eater. So he's a guy that if you want to blow up the run and get tackles for loss in the backfield, he's your guy. If you want him to pass rush, not going to happen. It's not going to be a guy that you can pass rush with, maybe not even a guy that in pass rush situations stays on the field. But that first and second down and rundowns, you pair him up with Grady Jarrett. He can take on 2 blockers. He can help blow up plays. He comes from a great program, obviously, and he's a guy that's got, he's a very rugged guy when you talk about getting down low. And it said, mountain of a man, 6'4", 330 pounds, ran a 5.41 40. But again, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I need a guy in the middle of that defensive line that eats up some space. And even if he's only a 2-down player, who cares? You're talking about a 5th-round guy, which, by the way, is where they found Grady Jarrett, just for craps and giggles if you want to know out there. So I take Neil Farrell, defensive tackle out of LSU, with the 5th-round pick. Round number 6, pick number 190, Dontario Drummond, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. Now, he's a guy that's got some nice physical tools, 6'1", 215, got some size and strength, probably a slot receiver, was obviously productive at Ole Miss. He's got the good frame, probably not the best hands, probably not the best route runner in the world. You probably have to keep things simple for him, and probably is a project. But again, another guy that if you're talking about can get over the middle of the field and use his size and strength to get open, he can do that. He's not going to run past anybody. He's got good football speed, but running a 40 is not in a straight line downfield isn't what his strength is. But you talk about a guy who makes plays after the catch. You talk about a guy who's got the physical size. Talking about 6'1", 215. That's a good size wide receiver over the middle of the field. If he can do some of that and help out your young quarterback or Marcus Mariota, think he's somebody to take a look at. I pick him in round number 6 at pick 190. And then finally, round number 7, pick number 213, Darien Kendrick, cornerback out of the University of Georgia. Look, Kendrick's one of those guys that has played in a lot of big moments in his collegiate career. The spotlight, does he have the great speed? No. Does he have the great size? No. He's definitely a work in progress. But you talk about a guy who, if nothing else, has been in some of the biggest moments in college football. Played at Clemson, played at Georgia, started there, part of a national championship team, part of a successful Clemson program. There is, again, something to the idea of a guy who's been a winner, who's had to compete, okay? And look, we're talking about a 7th-round pick. at this point. We're not talking about guys who are supposed to make impacts and supposed to do much of anything. You put a guy like that on your special teams, but he is a guy that comes from a winning program. I like guys that come from winners. I like guys that come from winning programs. That is my mock draft. Now, look, tonight we start with round number 1. Do I think the Falcons just make this easy and draft a defensive player? I sure hope so. I hope that they make this easy and don't make it difficult. You know, I know everybody's mocking wide receiver, safety, corner, this and that, whatever like that. And there's some people that have mocked offensive line. I've said before, the 3 positions that I won't get angry at drafting, obviously defensive line, which should be what it is. Offensive line won't aggravate me. And even if they draft like Malik Willis at number 8, I won't be completely aggravated by that simply because they need a quarterback. And I don't like the idea of kicking quarterback down the road and waiting another year and another year and another year. And, well, it didn't work out this year. We got to find. I'm not a fan of doing all of that. So I'd rather go draft my quarterback when I'm available to draft it, and then let's move on. And if it doesn't work, we go draft another quarterback the next draft. Right? I mean, that's just how you kind of have to do it. So I hope the Falcons make this easy. And listening to Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith, listening to some of the pundits and things like that, you know, out there, I don't know. I mean, this draft is all over the board, and certainly you look at the first 7 picks that are going to happen before the Falcons, they're going to be all over the board. There's no real consensus, number 1. You know, you could make a case for Jacksonville. If they draft a Thibodeau, that makes sense. If they draft Hutchinson, that makes sense. If they draft Evan Neal, that makes sense. If they draft Kwanu, that makes sense. Like, there's all these guys that you could say Jacksonville with the number 1 overall pick could draft, and you're like, yeah, that was a pretty good pick. That makes sense for what they want to do. And you understand what their philosophy would be. You know, it wouldn't make any sense for Jacksonville to draft a quarterback at number 1, right? But offensive line, defensive line, whatever. They have lots of needs, and you could see them draft them anyway. So because there's not an easy consensus 1, 2, or 3 like there was last year, and Terry Fontenot talked about when they drafted number 4 last year, it was like they had the first pick of the draft because they knew what the first 3 picks were going to be. Everybody knew Trevor Lawrence was going number 1. Everybody knew Zach Wilson was going number 2. And it came out that we knew that Trey Lance was going to be number 3. That made it easy. Even if one Trey Lance was going to be a quarterback, and the Falcons weren't going to draft a quarterback last year. So this draft is monumentally important for the Atlanta Falcons. And people keep talking about starters. Well, we need 4 starters. We need 3 starters. We need the – what you need are high-quality impact players. And Arthur Smith made a comment the other day about, well, I don't know what the metrics are to measure a good draft pick. I'll tell you the metrics. Here, let me help you out, Coach. I know you're listening. I know you're watching. Appreciate you and Terry being a part of this, getting ready for the draft. I'll give you some metrics, okay? Tristan Wirfs was first-team rookie NFL his rookie year, and then was first-team All-NFL his second year. Is that being an impact? Rookie team first year, All-NFL second year, first team. That sounds pretty good, right? Micah Parsons in his rookie year, one of the 3 finalists for Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, first team All-NFL. Those are good metrics to have. When I'm measuring your guy, if I measure your guys by, let's see, let's just use a random example of how I can measure a guy. Let's say, I don't know, let's pick Jalen Mayfield, okay? Jalen Mayfield grades out as one of the 2 or 3 worst interior offensive linemen in the NFL. He gives up more sacks than any interior offensive lineman in the NFL, and he finishes in the top 10 in penalties in the NFL at his position. Those are not good metrics. Those are easy metrics to look at and say, well, that wasn't a very good first year, okay? We need to draft high-caliber, high-quality NFL player. If that means I get only 1 or 2 starters, but that guy is first-team All-NFL in 2 years, then so be it. I'm more than happy if that's what it is. Give me high-caliber players, guys who can change my franchise around. All right, when we get back, boy, the Braves got some good news here this morning. As Ronnie, he's back. We'll talk to Braves baseball up next. Chuckery here, hitting hard with Jon Chuckery